Hi there, and thank you for clicking on my video. Lavos Prime, our friendly neighborhood alchemist, got their Prime variant, obviously. We're going to be talking about whether it's worth it overall for the Prime Access, and some generic builds. Lavos obviously got his Prime variant. He came with the Cedo Prime and the dual Zoren Prime, which was a surprise, honestly. Um, I mean, obviously they announced it on the dev stream, but it's just when I think of Lavos, I think more like, you know, the weapons associated with Father in the Necrolist. But either way, our boy's very tricked out now. Lavos, in terms of the frame itself, is pretty standard buffs. He's a health tank, more or less. Incredibly easy to use at Steel Path. Even easier to use in regular Star Chart. We are going to be going over new bro builds because this is a Prime Access. There's no MR requirements. If you're brand new to Warframe and you haven't really grinded Warframe, but instead you have grinded checks, so we're going to have some basic builds, and of course, finally a frame that can really abuse my favorite set, the Mecha set. The damage gets pretty nutty, and it only goes up from there. But anyway, let's talk about the Prime Access itself. I got him currently equipped with the Cedo Prime, all of his accessories, the back as well. I'm gonna be honest. Um, I'm actually pretty happy with the stuff that we got from this. A lot of it is going to be mainly sticking to Lavos, though, just because of the aesthetic. Like, you got the vials and everything. Frankly, it's going to be a little difficult to, because they're not very generic. They're very much meant to enhance Lavos's aesthetic. That it's going to be a little difficult to get a fashion going for other frames with some of this stuff. But that being said, obviously people are going to figure it out. I can see the back piece being the main thing for any sort of like, theme that you're trying to go for. I can see that being made to work. But like the shoulder pieces, the leg pieces, those accessories, they definitely enhance Lavos's overall appearance. So looks very, very good. He's got lots of things that are mobile on him. And he's also got the shoulder pieces, the tubes. Didn't come with a Signa, though. That's alright. We're rocking Jades. Just to give some more mobility. Got the little ball moving around up there, so I'm pretty happy with it. So in terms of fashion, the fashion is going to be very niche. Lavas plus a couple of other things that can potentially use it. But in terms of like how it looks, very good looking frame. So in terms of like, was it worth? Because I got the Prime Access. Was it worth it? For me, I'm actually really happy with it. So this is, I would say, the Lavos Prime setup, the Prime Access, is one of the stronger Prime Accesses. That being said, even though I've sort of hyped up the frame, because everything is so niche, it's not really adding to your overall fashion, closet, if you will. The fact is that, in my opinion, the strongest, contribution to the Prime Access is honestly the Cedo Prime. This is a solid buff. This is a good buff. It's kind of a shame, though, that we're in the Incarnon weapon age. This is because the Cedo on its own was very, very strong to begin with. Incredibly strong. The Cedo Prime is just more of that. But the fact is that I don't see this beating out the Incarnon weapons. So for those of you that were maybe on the fence of whether or not to get this stuff, it's a strong gun. Don't get me wrong; it's incredibly strong. But the fact is that you're basically paying full price, or you're paying the price for the plat and the accessories, because the rest of this is obviously grindable, and I will be grinding another Lavos Prime. Or I will be grinding a Prime in-game. The one that I have right now, I grinded at, at my job. So the fact is in terms of like the offering this time, this is a pretty decent setup. It feels like you actually got some bang for the buck. That being said, I know a lot of you are just going to do the accessories and call it a day and grind everything else out. And obviously that sounds like a smart choice to me. But anyway, let's go over some builds real quick. I know a lot of people that watch my stuff are fairly new, so we'll go over some basic stuff. And then we'll talk about the Mecha set, because that got a lot of love with this guy. The Lavos did really, really well with the Mecha set. Lavos Prime is more so, mainly because of the Cedo, though. So basic build, if you're brand new, this is the new bro build. Say you just logged into Warframe, you're like, oh cool, doesn't cost a lot to you, that's fine, and you don't really have anything. This is your very, very basic first Warframe build. Ideally corrosive projection, in my opinion, and ultimately most builds are personal opinion. But you're probably not going to have corrosive projection. This is a Nightwave aura, and it can be on rotation. So your first build is probably going to look like something like this. Dreamer's Bond is something that they just throw at you at the beginning. And most of these you're going to get fairly quickly. I think Continuity is one of the ones that's more of a hassle in terms of like getting it where it's like a rarer drop rate. But that being said, this is all pretty accessible. Fast deflection you get really early, vitality, steel fiber. And if you don't have these, remember that in Iron Wake, once you gain access to that on Earth, you can go dumpster diving and get the flawed versions. And if you're a brand new player, I'm not going to lie, flawed mods are kind of the way to go. They're cheap, good bang for the buck, and ideally, the main point of the flawed mods is most builds you do that are flawed builds are, one, cheap, and two, generally don't require Forma. Most builds that you do with flawed mods are zero Forma builds, or damn near zero Forma. So, that being said, it's a good place to start. Just go dumpster diving, you'll be fine. So this is going to be something, I know generally you build Lavos for health tank, but if you're the mods that you're going to get later, you're not going to have access to them right now, so just go health, armor, redirection, and fast deflection to get your tank up. You can't enjoy Warframe if, you're dead. Other than that, the very basic stuff, we got 4 main stats: duration, range, strength, efficiency. Lavos has status duration. That's because of, him himself. But, so we just go for each one of those. We're going to be buffing as much as we can out of the abilities. As you can see, most of the stuff's green. So we're just trying to get him to work. We're trying to get him to work well, and we're trying to give ourselves time to be able to play and learn. So very, very basic. Armor, health, shield capacity, fast deflection, efficiency, range, ability strength, and ability duration. You're probably going to get continuity last. So very, very basic, little bit of everything. You're probably not going to have an Exilus mod to begin with, but if you bought Lavos Prime, he's going to come with a reactor, so you're going to end up with this 74 capacity. And as you can see, I have a couple of Forma on here. And capacity isn't an issue because I have 4 on here. But even if I didn't, if I was doing the flawed set, I probably wouldn't need polarities at all. So keep that in mind. So very, very basic. Let's go over to the Cedo. This is going to be, I'm not going to lie, if you get this early or if you buy it, this is probably going to be one of the stronger starting weapons that you can potentially get. And again, just going over a basic build. Let me change one of these things. The build's going to be pretty basic. The issue that you're going to have is going to be getting some of these mods. The shotgun mods tend to have lower drop rates, though they're easily farmable if you're able to stay in mission or if you're willing to run the same mission a bunch of times. Some of these are just going to take a while. When I was new, I remember Ravage taking a long time. There we go. But again, with a lot of this, Dumpster Dive and Iron Weight get you some flawed mods, and you'll get fixed right up. But the basic format for the new bro is going to be base damage, multi-shot, average critical multiplier, which is made up of 2 mods, crit chance, crit damage, fire rate. So these are our main multipliers. We're going to have 1 utility mod, a mutation mod, and to be honest, you really don't need this one. Because of the way Lavos works, and we'll discuss it in a minute. You're not going to have any issues keeping ammo up. I've already done an hour with him in survival with no ammo mutation. His 3 basically takes care of the issue, getting those universal ammo pickups. But if you're new, this is a good mod to have while you're still getting used to playing him, just to give you the best, most consistent chance of doing what you need to do. And then you just do 2 mods for corrosive, and that'll keep you squared away. You can also do viral. It's all... The enemies are super weak in the regular start chart, so it's all very personal preference. If you have a 90 for viral, so a 90 for toxin, 90 for cold, you can do this also. It's a very solid bump, especially doing the regular star chart. Your damage is going to be good. So this is just sort of an example of a basic build. The dual Zoren Prime, just for posterity, this is your basic build, and I did it again. Sort of the same thing, base damage, attack speed, average critical multiplier, so crit chance, crit damage. Weapons don't have multi-shot, technically until later, and it requires an arcane, but they do have range. We're going to get a nice healthy 90-90 mod split for corrosive or viral, personal preference. If you're doing regular star chart, I would say do viral. As soon as you get to Steel Path, you might have to source your viral from somewhere else. Or keep using viral, because there's going to be better mods. And we have a dot for heat. The slash weighting on the weapon is basically exactly 90%. So as long as we keep something like this is going to give us a little under 50% chance to proc a dot. And we're going to have a heavy weighting on dealing with corrosive so we can shred the armor, which is going to be the big issue. If you're going against Corpus, magnetic toxin, way to go. So pretty basic, and the innate stance that matches the polarity is Swirling Tiger. These stances are kind of personal preference. Swirling Tiger, you're very whirling dervish. While Carving Mantis is very forward momentum. I honestly like Carving Mantis a little bit more. But Swirling Tiger, if you're new, pretty easy to get. Carving Mantis is going to take a little bit. But anyway, basic builds done. Let's take a look at the damage real quick. We'll hit some baddies. The Cedo Prime is just super strong, if I can actually aim it. Easy enough. The dual Zoren with corrosive heat. Lots of modded damage. To scale our base damage, we got pressure point, the basic one, and a heavy. Not too bad. You're not going to be versing these guys in the regular star chart, especially because we got Steel Path on, so you're not going to be running into these guys until way later, and they're not Steel Path. Alright, so easy enough. That's the new bro builds. And let's go over to the build that I've been having the most fun with. So we'll swap over our build from the new bro build. I have been basically for the past 24 hours, anytime I've been playing Warframe, because it came out yesterday, been just abusing the shit out of the Mecha set on him. Blessing, Grace, very, very health tanky, health conversion, adaptation, even Mecha Pulse for more armor, Archon Continuity, Archon Intensify, Stretch. Obviously, you can do Archon Stretch if you want to for points or whatever, but you're obviously not going to be getting energy out of it. And the only one that I've been going back and forth between doing double augment or single, but I have stuck to using Valence Formation. It's just an amount of damage that you can't ignore. And for the new bros that are looking at this, do not buy this. Farm it up normal. It's not that big of a rush. But that being said, passive augment, just to read it, is busted. Casting an ability imbued with extra elemental damage applies that element as a 200% bonus to your weapon with a guaranteed status effect. What's not to love about that? The Cedo has a crap ton of status on it, so you can do like an electric Cedo and really amp the damage. You can do a gas Cedo. It even applies like gas modded damage, where Lavos is kind of the only game in town right now. It gives gas a weight, like a modded weighting to it, which is pretty cool. Normally we've been having to deal with like base damage and faction damage and like headshot bonuses, crit bonuses, that sort of thing, but you can actually get like gas weighting. So very, very health tanky build. Easily does an hour. It is a little heavy on the armor though, because I've put 2 armor blues to do the shards real quick. The only thing that I would say is sort of required shard wise, he feels way, way better with casting speed. I know, surprising. And that being said, ability duration feels pretty good on him. And I have 2 armor shards. That being said, I'm probably going to end up leaving 1 armor shard and swapping the blue one over for a green towel for the corrosive stacks to get to 13, so I'm not getting a full strip. Because there's no benefit to full stripping anymore. So 1 is the best bang for the buck with minimal investment in terms of like shard space, because we only have 5. This feels really, really good. That being said, if you want to go full electric, you could do double electric shards or even like 3 electric shards. I would say keep the casting speed. That's personal taste though. Obviously, you do what you want, right? But the Mecha set, I haven't really felt too comfortable dump statting him a ton on any stat yet. Though, just in terms of transparency, I would say efficiency is probably his most abusable stat to dump stat, because he doesn't have to worry about like energy, like he's a 0 energy frame. That being said, you can compensate for a blind rage build with more range. So do with that what you will, because the efficiency is mainly affecting the cooldown reduction that you get, right? So the more efficiency that you have, the more cooldown reduction you get. But you get ability cooldown from hitting stuff with a transmutation probe. So if you want to dump stat efficiency and go like 45% or something, you can compensate for the low reduction that you'll get from it by going way more range. That being said, I'm not really using him for a lot of strength. I kind of just want to run and gun, like, weapons platform. Like, I use him mostly for valence formation. But that being said, that's just my personal taste. He feels good an hour into Steel Path. He's super tanky. Archon Continuity is kind of a free corrosive stack. And I'm okay with that. I know normally people would be like, oh, like a single corrosive stack, what are you going to do with that? Well, it gets multiplied by the mecha set. So if you get a toxin dot from your abilities onto the marked target from the mecha set, the next everything in the AoE once that target dies is going to end up with 10 stacks. Which is why I want to do the green shard, so it'll shove everything to 13 and increase the dot even more. As the levels start to get higher, you're starting to rely on that health more. So if you're nuking everything, as you probably want to, Archon Intensify is probably the flex slot, the most, I wouldn't say controversial, but like the most flexible slot. You can get rid of this if you want to and run Blind Rage. It's not going to hurt you, especially with the amount of efficiency that I'm running. But I like keeping him super spammy. He feels really good. The 1, 2, and 3, just from that single Tau casting shard, are super snappy. The 4 kind of makes me want to put another casting speed shard on there. That being said, it's whatever. But the 1, 2, and 3 are super, super snappy. So it's personal taste at that point, but I like this setup. 125 duration. Keep in mind 2 duration shards to keep it positive. Range 145 just to stretch. Strength is 130. It'll eventually get bumped up to 160 once I start taking health damage. And status duration 125. So a little bit of a bump helps you out with the mecha set. Though to be honest, if you kill a target that is marked with mecha empowered, it's going to die pretty quickly just from the bonus. And unless you're really, really starting to struggle with levels, the duration not being higher probably isn't going to hurt you. Especially if it double jumps. Like if the mecha target nukes, does the AoE, and hits another mecha target, if the first mecha nuke doesn't kill, but kills from you naturally killing it, once the dot kills the second target, that dot will kill everything. So, Prime Sure-Footed, this is a comfort pick. Not that it's really excusable, but just getting a little bit older, I'm starting to need it more. Even though, because of his passive, he is status immune basically the entire time. It still feels pretty good to use. I'm not going to do it's a big damage increase meme. Well, I guess I just kind of did, but I like it. And there are some enemies that feel like they have a forced knockdown. And I just kind of want to get rid of that. But I played him 30 minutes, 40 minutes when I was leveling him without Prime Sure-Footed, and he was fine. There were only a couple times where it was really something that you couldn't, like, ignore. That you kind of got bopped. So it is what it is. But PSF fixes most things, and it's honestly probably the best in slot if you're willing to throw Forma at stuff for an Exilus. Just being honest. So the build's pretty simple. Health gets us to 2,000. Yeah, there we go. Health conversion for a ton of armor. It's going to bring us up. We're going to be regularly over 3,000 armor. Adaptation makes that health work even harder for the enemy to chew through. Fleeting expertise, Archon continuity. Fleeting expertise for efficiency, Archon continuity, and 2 duration shards to keep us positive. Keeps things pretty simple. Taking advantage of the corrosive status and the Mecha set nuke effect, where it increases the dots, or the dots increase the status of everything else that's attached to it, almost guarantees 10 stacks of corrosive. And valence formation, obviously all builds are personal taste, but I'm not gonna lie, man, like this feels like it should almost be a core mod, because I just can't see running without it. Obviously you can make it work. Like, obviously we all played Lavos before he got this augment, but the difference between having valence formation and not, it's like two different frames. And Mecha set, to finish off the set, we want that big nuke. Obviously it's showing 3. I don't have a pet equipped right now, so it is what it is. Obviously change this to your desired effect. If you want to go heavy into strength, say you're trying to get that really big catalyzed nuke, you can compensate for the efficiency dump stat with range, like I said earlier. Other than that, it's the same Lavos that we've always loved. He's a super good frame. Let's go on the Cedo. The build is pretty standard. If you're post, I mean, I guess it's a little bit different because we got the new mods, right? I went heavy modding, just trying to get the modded damage up. The innate ability of this weapon to deal insane amounts of damage. The multi-shot before scaling is basically 15. And it's going to be pretty easy to hit 40, 50, 60, 70k per shot. So you're hitting like 500,000 easy each bullet, each time it fires, and you're firing 5 times a second. So it's like 2.5 million damage, a second. That's a lot of damage. But yeah, the unique trait is basically condition overload. And converts secondary ammo pickups to 50% of shotgun ammo when wielded by Lavos. It's going to be hard to run out of ammo with this, especially when you're using it with Lavos. Obviously, it's got the little mutation thing. But considering Lavos is 3, the little jar that you send out turns everything into universal ammo pickups. I have not been running this with ammo mutation. And you would have to convince me with some insanely high fire rate build to even justify running ammo mutation on this, because it's already got some, and Lavos gives you basically unlimited shotgun ammo. So unless you're like blind or unable to hit stuff, so pretty basic. I went heavy modded damage. There's obviously some room for interpretation. Got magnetic corrosive radiation on the main fire, blast included on the glaive, and slash on the main hit of the glaive, puncture on the main hit from the main fire. Merciless feels really good. Obviously, you could probably go deadhead if you want to. I like the reload. The reload is pretty snappy. Merciless is not mandatory. You could even do like a crux for ammo efficiency, but the main fire, though the status per projectile was increased, it still is what it is, and if you're using valence formation, you're getting guaranteed status effects anyway. So if you want to do it for the meme, for the ammo efficiency, more power to you. Merciless feels good. Deadhead feels good also. So pretty basic build. Average critical multiplier, but we've got the prime variations. It doesn't change that much. Prime average, critical deceleration to get that average crit multiplier. We got galvanized mods now because we're post arbitrations and we're doing steel path. Galvanized hell, galvanized savvy, which works wonderfully with the extra damage. Works great. Lots of damage. That being said, probably the most scandalous thing that I did is just from running around. This build feels incredibly generic, especially since I'm getting viral from the pet or I'm able to maintain viral or armor strip enough from the pet, I'm not really missing it. So I've been running magnetic strafe to get both magnetic and fire rate. Atomic fallout for a little bit more magazine. Honestly, it's just to get another combo element on there. But the magazine's nice, not gonna lie. Radiation just to get some elemental weighting variety. And Toxic Barrage and Prime Charge Shell for a heavy corrosive weighting. Pretty basic philosophy. And this does incredibly well. Especially if you're getting like guaranteed status effects. Like God forbid you put like viral on or corrosive or something like that. Like you're going to be shredding with the main fire, and it frees you up to be able to pick whatever main element you want. So if you don't want to run the mecha set, you can change out the mecha mods and run like a panzer, and you've got your viral that way, because you're going to be getting guaranteed status procs. And to be honest, I would recommend doing electricity. That's been a good time. Gas is also a real good time. So, food for thought. If you can get some armor strip on there, it's a good time. Even though we're like at like 90% damage reduction, it doesn't matter that much. But the dot from the mecha set is easily going to get over 1 million, which in today's Warframe, except for like the tankiest enemies, or like a boss like 60 Eyes, is going to kind of be enough to one-shot. So, pretty basic, heavy modding, and then a standard build. Also, galvanized acceleration feels really, really good. 26 meters is a pretty good range. But because I'm moving so fast, just because of the way that Lavos Kit is, like with the 2, I find myself primary hip firing from far enough away that I occasionally, not from the 67 meters, that's kind of insane, but the 26 meters, I kind of want that a little bit higher. Personal taste, if you don't care. Obviously pick whatever you want. Double barrel drift is honestly kind of nice, I'm not gonna lie. It also is a matching polarity, or you could go like vigilante supplies. So, it is what it is. Double barrel drift does feel really good, though. And dual Zoren. Mod it however you want. Here's a standard influence build. I'm not going to lie, the dual Zoren, or the Prime dual Zoren, was probably the most underwhelming part of the entire Prime access. I know they said the thing about the melee slide attack. It gets interrupted so easily. The only thing that I've seen mentioned was actually at a Nova Umbral community post, where you can airborne double jump to maintain it. But like if you roll or parkour or something like that, I wish you could parkour and like grab onto something and have it maintain a little bit easier. But like it says, landing cancels the effect. I wish there was more of a meme behind this, like you could really, really abuse it. I haven't found one though. Maybe there's like zero gravity, like a 0% like a minus 100% gravity meme that I haven't run into. But the unique trait, okay, it's cool. Like it's remember berries. But the fact is like this weapon is there. There used to be a time where like we would kind of kill for something like this: 30% crit chance, 3.2 crit multiplier, 22% status chance. Like this used to be a hell of a weapon back in the day. But we're in the Incarnate Age. This is just power crept to hell and back. But that being said, it's got great weightings. Even the range, 2.3. 5.3 with prime reach. Even that's not bad. But it's just in the day and age that we're in, you're probably using an Incarnon. It's a good weapon. It's just power crept. So it is what it is. Swirling Tiger for the AoE, Carving Mantis for forward momentum, standard build, Condition Overload, Blood Rush, Galvanized Steel, Prime Reach, Berserker Fury, Weeping Wounds, Shocking Touch, and Galvanized Elementalist. And I did Forma off one of the dash polarities. So, it is what it is. If you're using this stuff, you probably know how to mod. Just mod accordingly. When I did have the other dash polarity on there, I did try a massive corrosive weighting. And even that was fine. Right? Like, even that was a good time. So let's check out the damage. Oh, and obviously, your choice of mecha companions. Pick a doggo. I use the Pharaoh. Obviously, it works with most things. The Mecha set, Mecha Recharge, needs to go on there somewhere. Mecha Overdrive. As they keep making more and more frames abuse status effects, that seems to be kind of the gist that they're going for recently. Is like we have like Cedo 9, we obviously have Lavos now. There's probably a very rich person selling mecha mods right now. The mecha set, not to go on a rant, but the mecha set is one of the strongest sets in the game. Because it scales several ways. Obviously, it's incredibly strong with Roar. Like, if you have like a Rhino somewhere on the team and you guys can like abuse the mecha set, it's super easy damage cap. But the mecha set itself is an additional multiplier. The aura is. So plus 150. Well, if you think about it, faction mods are like 55%. So this is almost 3 times stronger. And this scaling is outside of faction damage because it only applies to one target. And then it scales so you can go up to... So plus 150 will be over 100% base damage, right? That's whatever the damage is. Including Roar is in the 100%. And then you do plus 150%. So it's a massive multiplier, but the 150 scales additively. So if you have your 100, which is your base damage, and then you have 4 mecha set, it's plus 600%. Or plus 600% on top of your 100%. So it's 700% scaling, and then it behaves like faction. More or less. And the damage jumps between each enemy, and each person that has a mecha set is spawning more mecha targets. So I think it gets up to the point where it's like up to 8 enemies is a perfect roll, where every person that could potentially target, every set that could target 2 enemies has 2 enemies targeted, so that's 2 people per set, and if 4 people have them, that's 8. But in all honesty, you're probably going to average around 6. But each time the dot jumps, it gets scaled again by the new mecha set bonus. So if you have 4 people and you do like a little bit of damage, it can jump and then it gets multiplied, and then if it kills that enemy, then it'll nuke, and if it hits another target, it then gets multiplied again. So the damage gets pretty nuts pretty quickly. And the mecha set, on average, just one person running it, if you're doing a solo mission, I've noticed personally about a 20% kills per minute increase if you're below like 150 kills a minute. So it's nothing to sneeze at. It's just inconsistent, and you have to health tank to get the most out of it, which not a lot of frames can do, admittedly. That being said, super fun set. The only thing I would encourage is if everybody at least mecha Lavoses in a 4-man one time. It's a little crazy. Let's hit a normal guy real quick. Alright, so we've got viral. Easy enough. Let's do corrosive. About the same. Oh, that's viral again. Gas. Oh, the mecha set killed him. I guess I hit one. Let's go over here. Alright, so gas. Dies anyway. Obviously, we're building stacks now. Magnetic. Because we're hitting armor, so of course it still works. Radiation. Obviously still works. And you can see we're doing 33 to 55,000. 65,000. Let's do this one. Blast. Good old blast. That's a mecha target. Gotta love that. Because of the amount of hits that the Cedo has, you're basically going to be getting a big explosion from blast procs. Obviously, because it's guaranteed status. As long as you shoot with 10 multi-shot, you're getting a pop each time. So it's a pretty good time. So overall, most builds, let's be honest, most builds are personal preference. That being said, I have been having an absolute blast with the mecha set. Just build him health tank, and you're having a pretty good time. Especially with health conversion, it's really easy to keep health orbs up on him. Keep the orbs up. Everything else is... I've adjusted the build a couple times, just seeing what works, what doesn't. The only thing I can recommend is if you're going to dump stack efficiency, some people do that. Actually, a lot of people do that. Make sure to compensate with range. That being said, go have some fun. Anyway, thanks for clicking on this video. Glad to finally get back in the saddle a little bit. Lavos Prime. I honestly give it like a 7 out of 10 Prime Access. It's pretty solid. He looks great. Feels good to play him. I'm having a good time, and I hope you guys are too. Have a blessed day, guys. Take it easy.